So Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, was directed by Scott Cooper and it stars Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen. Also stars Jeremy Strong, Mark Maron, Paul Walter Hauser. A few people appear in this movie. And in this movie, it's about how Bruce Springsteen decided to come about one of his lesser known albums known as Nebraska, where it basically talks about his life, shows about various aspects through his childhood, how that affects him today, and we have this movie. So this is a movie that, admittedly, I was not really looking forward to. I have nothing against Bruce Springsteen by any means, but I'm also just not the biggest fan of his. Like, I don't really listen to his music all that much. Obviously, I like some of his songs, like Dancing in the Dark, but I have not really been, like, excited for a Bruce Springsteen biopic. And this movie is fine. It's okay. The acting is pretty good. I do think the movie is trying to say something that's very important, but I also feel like this movie kind of borrows heavily from a lot of other movies, and I'll kind of talk about that. But let's start off with some of the actors who I thought the actors do a great job across the board, for the most part, but I'll talk about that. Jeremy Strong, I thought he was a really good, assistant to assistant, like kind of like manager of Bruce Springsteen. I thought his relationship with Bruce Springsteen was very well done. I thought he had some really good lines. Mark Maron appears in this movie a few times, and I didn't even know he was in this movie. I'm like, whoa, you're in this movie? That's really cool. And for his brief scenes, I thought he was pretty good. Stephen Graham is also pretty good, but I feel like it's kind of a lesser extent to what he was doing with something like, say, Adolescence, which I thought he was phenomenal in. And I felt like his performance here is good, but I don't feel like there's enough here. I do think this movie also talks a lot about, mental health and like how that can be like very debilitating, how it's kind of like hard to talk about. I feel like a movie like The Smashing Machine from a few weeks back actually did that a little bit better. And I feel like it's very important to talk about. And I feel like this movie does have some very good sequences where it shows Bruce Springsteen's mental health and how it kind of went down and such at times. Like there's this one sequence about halfway through the movie where all he's doing is just on this like dark road, like dead end road basically, and all he's doing is speeding and eventually just kind of screams. That's like, okay, this actually may be my favorite sequence of the whole movie because it kind of shows what this movie's about how Bruce Springsteen kind of struggled with like some of his thoughts and kind of struggled with a lot of things in his life and how he dealt with them. I think that scene alone kind of makes this movie worth it. I do think that the movie does get better as it goes along, where it's like you're kind of thinking, oh, okay, where is this going? And then by the end, it's like, oh, okay, that's where all of it went. I will at least say that when it comes to biopics, I am not a fan of them these days, especially musician biopics, because I feel like they're all just the same. They're all talking about how all these people are like, one in a million talents, and it's like, how did they stumble, and then how did they come back, and so on and so forth. I'm not a fan of Bohemian Rhapsody by any means. That was the movie that kind of kickstarted this whole trend nowadays. But honestly, I'm kind of glad that this movie at least didn't go for that direction. It didn't show, like, his entire life. It's like his ups, his downs. It's like it kind of focuses on this specific period, so it actually kind of works for me. It's like, okay, thank God we're not showing the typical stuff you would see in a musician biopic these days. But let's talk about some things I don't like. First off, Jeremy Allen White. Now, Jeremy Allen White, he's a good actor. I've seen a few episodes of The Bear, and I do want to get back into it. By maybe that show hits a little too close to me. But I feel like he's not really Bruce Springsteen. There are a lot of biopics, other biopics that admittedly I criticize. Some of the things that they do really well is they cast actors who just completely disappear into the role. Rami Malek, again, not a big fan of Bohemian Rhapsody. I felt like he was the best part of the movie, and it's like, I didn't see Rami Malek. I saw Freddie Mercury. Whereas something like Elvis, I thought Austin Butler was so good, I didn't even see the actor. Timothy Chalamet was also very good as Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. I thought he was transformative in that movie. This movie, I'm like, yeah, that's Jeremy Allen White claiming he's Bruce Springsteen. But then again, I don't know too much about Bruce Springsteen. But then again, I would counter him and say, I didn't really know too much about Bob Dylan either, so there's that. Also, if you're looking for a movie with a lot of concert scenes that kind of play a lot of his biggest hits, you're not really going to get that. I think you saw the one in the trailer where he's singing Born to Run. But other than that, I felt the concert scenes were just kind of unnecessary to this movie, especially considering what they're trying to do with the movie. Also, I do think that the first half is a bit slow at times. There are kind of times where I'm just like not as invested, but it's like by the end, it's like, okay, I kind of see where you're going with this movie and where you went with the movie. And also, again, kind of talking about musician biopics a bit, or just biopics in general, I guess. I definitely would compare it, I don't want to say negatively, but there are several moments in this movie where I would compare it to other movies. Again, I would mention the whole thing about mental health, how this movie kind of handles it, and also a movie like, say, Smashing Machine, just from a few weeks ago, also kind of tackled the same thing, but I feel like Smashing Machine, dare I say it, did it a little bit better. Also, a movie like A Complete Unknown, I feel like the style is a very similar to that movie, and it's kind of jarring. It's like I think this movie was actually shot around the same time and Complete Unknown came out, so it's like, okay, we're gonna make this movie like A Complete Unknown because that movie did really well. Well, there was other aspects of A Complete Unknown that were really good, and also there was another movie that came out this year, kind of, but also last year, called Better Man, which was about a musician named Robbie Williams. He actually plays the character, but he's in motion capture. He's actually a monkey in this movie, and it also talks about mental health. And ironically, for a movie where he's dressed up as this ape, basically, is surprisingly more human than a lot of movies starring humans. And so I felt like that movie, which addresses a lot of the same things as this movie does, actually was more effective. So I feel like this movie, it could work, but I feel like it's so entrenched in like thinking it's going to work that it really just doesn't. It has some good moments, it has some good ideas. It does at least invert a lot of the tropes that we kind of see from biopics, but at the same time, I feel like this movie could have been a lot more than it actually was. So even though there are some actors who do a phenomenal job, particularly Jeremy Strong, Mark Maron's also pretty good, Stephen Graham's also pretty good. I do like some of the things they're talking about. I do like how they're changing things up in biopics and such. I do like the second half more than the first half. And again, there are some very good sequences in this movie. I do feel like the concert scenes aren't that great. I feel like Jeremy Allen White is just okay as Bruce Springsteen. I think the first half is admittedly kind of slow. And also, I'm just comparing it so much to other biopics. I'm thinking I would rather watch some of those movies than watch this again. It's, I guess if you're a fan of Bruce Springsteen, actually I don't know about that, because if you want to see like a lot of his music recreated in a movie, you may be disappointed that you're not going to see it in this movie. I'll give Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere 2.5 out of 4 stars. Stream it. So, who's a musician that you want to see a biopic of? Or, in the way that some biopics are going these days, don't want to see a biopic on? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.